Welcome to the Pretty Powerful Podcast, where powerful women are interviewed every week to share real inspiring stories and incredible insight to help women or anyone break the barriers, be a part of innovation, shatter the glass ceiling, and dominate to the top of their sport, industry, or life's mission. Join us as we celebrate exceptional women and step into our power. And now, here's your host, Angela Gennari.
Thank you so much for joining us. This is Angela Gennari with the Pretty Powerful Podcast, and I'm sitting here today with Miss Sally Gimon. How are you, Sally?
I'm doing excellent. How are you today?
I am doing wonderful. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm excited to talk to you.
Great.
So I will introduce Sally. Sally is she's got a really unique niche here, and I'm really excited to learn more about it. Sally was motivated to become a real estate investor when her mom became sick in October 2018. Sally was 53 and needed to make a change in her life quickly. She has been an insurance agent for 20 years and has used her experience to make positive changes. Now she shares her information weekly in her real estate group, Win-Win Women TV. In July 2020, she bought a bank-owned property for $20,000 that would go to auction for $50,000 when COVID restrictions lifted. She knew her capital gains would be $7,140 and researched how the rich paid so little in taxes. This led her to find the business and beneficial spendthrift trusts. So, Sally, I am dying to hear all about this because this is just completely foreign to me. I have no idea what these are. And it's exciting that you're talking about, taxes, especially as we're going into, tax season coming up. And so let's get started. So tell me, you spent 20 years in insurance.
Correct.
And then decided to do real estate investing. And I love the pivot, especially, your timing couldn't have been better, really.
It's true.
Your timing could not have been better. So when you bought your first property for $20,000, did you renovate it, or was the plan to just flip it in an auction?
Quite honestly, it was not my first property. I had quite a few other properties.
Okay.
This was my second property I paid with my own money. I originally got involved with real estate investing by self-directing my Roth IRA and also my traditional IRA. Thank God, in my real estate group, they discussed that, but I was making good money. It was a deal of the week. Who knew how long COVID would happen, but it was a 4-bedroom, 1-bath house in Rocky Mount, North Carolina. The bank had held it for 3 years, and they said, we need the cash now to do other things, but we won't put your name on the house until auction. So that was July of 2020. It went to auction August 28th, 2021. So I had to hold it for 13 months.
Wow. Okay.
So, it was going to be a great deal. I'm like, $30,000? I like that,
Yeah.
So I was going through, researching this. And to be honest, I was talking to my father. My brother has his own brewery. I don't like beer, but he wins a lot of medals. I have a sister-in-law who runs her own business. I have some online businesses. My dad was looking at what I was doing with real estate. He's just like, hey, let's get the entire family started. In my real estate group, I don't know if you've ever heard of a gentleman named Garrett Gunderson.
I did.
He wrote a book called What the Rockefellers Do. He had to change the title. It's now called What the Billionaires Do. And on my Monday evening, I do a Monday evening, 8 p.m. East Coast time Zoom, and I can give the copy there. It talks about the Rockefellers Trust. It's 7 generations old. It's got over 400 people in it, and this is how they save taxes. I don't want to get political. There's some other political people doing this, but if you know a real estate investor, Grant Cardone, he only tells his people who spend $100,000 with him every year, and he sells the exact same trust for $50,000. I'm like, oh, that's just not fair. I don't have that kind of money. So back in July, my background it was insurance and also competitive intelligence. I found a law firm in Dallas, a private law firm, and they sell the trust. I became an agent of theirs, so I do sell on behalf of the law firm. It is patented. It is in the tax code 643B, so it is legal. And just to give you a little bit of history, it comes from England when King Henry VIII started the Church of England. So some of these trusts are over 300 years old here in the United States. I'm teaching the class. I had a mastermind in my real estate class, and one of my friends, a retired preacher from New Hampshire who moved to Phoenix, sat in on my class, true story, on Super Bowl Sunday, 2021. The fourth time he went to the house, he found the grown daughter of the gentleman who had passed away. They stopped the auction. The auction was going to be March 1st, 2021. He
Wow.
wholesaled the house for $50,000. He knew about capital gains, didn't do anything about it. And when he did his taxes, he postponed his taxes until July of 2022. He's now driving Uber 6 nights a week because he has a $990 tax bill every single month. And he's like, Sally, please tell people about this. I want to be your poster child for things not to do. And, you know,
Right.
I really feel the average person getting in my real estate group, not to make fun of people, it's a 54-year-old man trying to save money for retirement. So many people are drowning in not saving enough money for retirement. And then they're getting these crazy tax bills because no one's telling them the truth. And, you know, my goal, thank you for having me on here, Angela, is to tell people, you know, this is, yes, it costs money, but this is something to know about. Maybe not today, but maybe 2 years from now. Maybe you're going to look at this in 4 months from now. And, you know, with what I have for my family, my 2 brothers are in it, my 2 sister-in-laws are in it, and I have 7 nieces and nephews. And, you know, I'm trying all of them for Christmas. I gave them silver coins, so they now have a stake in the trust so they can start saving money. It doesn't help people who have W-2 income, but it does. The business trust helps 1099 income, and the beneficial trust helps any investor. I don't care, real estate, crypto mining, stock market, options, anything like that. So again, I'm sorry I'm talking so much, but I really think people should know this.
Okay. So tell me a little bit more about this because I'm curious. So a real estate trust, because I know people can just set up a trust, right? You can set up your own trust, put your house in your trust, and that way, if anything unfortunate happens, if you pass away suddenly and you don't have a will, everything is in the trust. The trust owns everything, right? So you personally don't own anything. And I know that people have done this in the past, and it's, you know, for legal reasons, for tax reasons, for, you know, a plethora of reasons, you know, whether it's, you know, generational wealth, you know, just passing things down from generation to generation and combining resources and combining wealth. I mean, there's a lot of different aspects of having a trust that make sense. So these trusts are something that you buy into, and it's a bigger trust. It's not a family trust. Is that what I'm getting?
What you're discussing, exactly what my parents had. And if you watch PBS, Susie Orman talks about this. 97% of the trusts out there are what's just avoid going to court or probate.
Right.
When the person passes away, like my dad passed away November 2021, when I do his 2022 taxes, that trust ends. I have to divide all the money up between my 2 brothers and I. I get 1 more share of the stock because we can't do it equally. They're like, that's not fair. I'm like, you need to deal with everything. But that's what 97% of the trusts are out there. This trust, again, is based, you know, I keep going back to the Rockefellers. Nelson Rockefeller's famous quote, own nothing, control everything. So my trust owns my car. If I haven't, not saying this would happen, but if I had an accident, one of my clients, true story, he has 100 doors in Chicago, has one of those big, huge RVs that, you know, you need a bus license for. He couldn't slow down for an accident over the summer in August. He hit the car in front of him, hit the car and hit 2 more cars. You know, his trust owns the RV. He had, I guess, car insurance, RV insurance. He paid for the property damage. And the woman he hit who got squished, she's like, I'm going to sue you for everything you have. These 2 trusts, the business trust and the beneficial trust, number 1, saves you on federal taxes. Mm-hmm. Number 2, saves your information, keeps it completely private so nobody knows what you're up to. And number 3, keeps you from being sued. Mm-hmm. His trust paid for the property, but they could not go after his 100 doors in Chicago. I mean, not to make fun of Patrick, but he's worth quite a bit of money. And, you know, he's just like, if I didn't have what he had, what you're talking about, he had a family trust or a regular trust, they would be able to find, if he had a good lawyer, go after the LLCs and go after what was in the LLCs. The trust I'm talking about, the Spendthrift Trust, does not own any LLCs. I gave up 4 different LLCs and put all my property in there. It's the more I use it, the more money I save. And, you know, I'm not trying to rip off the federal government at all. I served in the Peace Corps for 2 years. My brother was a federal employee for 20 years. But the first page of the tax code says it's up to every individual to figure out their own taxes.
Right.
If Grant Cardone can get away with it, if the Rockefellers can get away with it, why can't you and I also take part in this too?
Right. Yeah, it's I always have this discussion with my accountant every year, because I always, when he tells me how much I have to owe in taxes, because of my business, like, why do I have to owe so much in taxes? Amazon is not paying this much in taxes, and neither is Apple.
Just to give you an idea, my brother's brewery, at the same time that he was opening up the brewery, you talked about Amazon, and I'm going to get in trouble for talking about this, but BMW was going between North Carolina and South Carolina, fighting with both states, and to get the best tax rates, get the free land, get this. And he's like, how come I'm not getting the breaks that BMW gets? And I'm like, because you're a small, I don't want to say small brewery. He makes a lot of money, but there's different echelons for different levels. And I'm trying to equal the playing field for people to find out. Again, this is more information. If people want to go forward, they can always reach out to me, but just letting me get the word out to people, because with it being tax season, with the beneficial trust, it's going to defer capital gains, short-term and long-term. It's going to defer interest income, dividend income, your rent roll taxes, and royalties. One of my clients is an artist who sells NFTs online. I didn't know there was so much money in it, but she's selling artwork for $1,000 a piece, and she's like, "You're going to save me so much money on my 2022 taxes now. Thank you."
Yeah, absolutely. So what is the difference? You mentioned one is for 1099 and one is for business or personal, or tell me the difference between the two.
The business trust is for 1099 income. I have 3 online businesses I work with. And then the beneficial trust is for any investment. So I don't care if it's real estate, if you wholesale it, if you fix and flip it, if you hold it for short term or long term. Crypto mining, if you have crypto coins, you get charged moving your crypto coins from your wallet to your from your wallet onto, let's say, Coinbase. Or if you want to sell coins, I took a course, and my instructor, he told me the story. And now I talked in front of his group 3 times. He got involved with crypto back in 2012. In 2016, he sold 3 of his crypto coins and bought a nice house in New Jersey with a pool. At the time, his kids were 7 and 5. They bought it in June, had a great summer in the pool. And he said the worst conversation was he had to sit down in April afterwards and tell his 2 sons, we have to sell the house to pay capital gains. And the 7-year-old says, "Daddy, why do you hate me so much?" And he's just like, "Oh," and he's like, and no offense to Paul, Paul's like, "No one told me when I bought crypto at 600 and I sold it at $4,000, how much, the capital gains on that would be." And he sold, several coins to do that. And, I'm not, most people don't know about this. And the people who I talk to, I do a lot of Zooms, and like, oh, like somebody yesterday, she started real estate investing in 2014, and it took her 7 years to pay off her capital. She sold a piece of property for $20,000. She thought she was wonderful. It took her 7 years to pay off that property. And she's like, "I stopped investing in real estate till I paid it off." And she goes, "I lost so much time doing this." So again, this is why I want to talk to as many people as possible.
Yeah, I agree. And it's something that I think people just need to be more aware of, is, the benefits of having a trust in your name, or in your family name, or whatever it is. So is that with a regular trust, you're saying a regular trust, a family trust, expires when when you die?
Correct. What 97% of the trusts out there are what is called revocable individual trusts. My mom and dad had, both of them were the trustees. My mom died first. My dad died second. With the trust I talk about, the full name is a big mouthful, so I have to apologize. It's irrevocable. It goes from generation to generation. It's complex. It can hold money from month to month, year to year, decade to decade. It's discretionary. Whoever is a trustee can make the rules. Non-grantor, if you decide to set up a trust, you're going to either choose somebody or use the law firm I work with. They're going to sign up for the trust. You'll need their social security number, and then they'll sign away. When I set up the two business and the beneficial trust, I used a family friend, Roy. He was 87 years old, knew me before I was born. Shouldn't have used him. He had to sign his name 17 times, and he had arthritis of the hand. And
Oh,
this
geez.
is I'm like, I am so sorry, Roy. And it got worse and worse. But he knows what the name is, but he has no idea what's put into the trust. And then spendthrift. The Supreme Court it's gone in front of the Supreme Court twice to say a spendthrift trust can enter any legal entity at any time. I mean, this is contract law, which is, once you have a contract, it can't be broken. What you have with your LLC, your S Corp, your C Corp, that's statutory law that can be changed at any time. So again, this is a vault that things can't happen in. And, personally, what I go through on Monday nights, I'm not trying to say I'm wonderful, but I've saved over $60,000 in capital gains in 18 months just doing the real estate I'm doing. And I'm not huge. I wholesale houses. So
yeah. Wow. Interesting. Okay. So how did you find out about all of these trusts? Because this is I know that you were looking for ways to do it, and then the book about Rockefellers came along, and I actually, funny enough, just watched a documentary on the Rockefellers, and the trust was brought up several times during that documentary. Yes. Yeah. So yes, the generations still continue to live off of it. I mean, some have squandered a bit of it, but yeah, so it's fascinating.
Well, I'm just you're in Atlanta. I don't know if you get the commercials for it for the Biltmore estate, this beautiful estate.
Mm-hmm.
That is the Vanderbilt estate. Anderson Cooper, who's on CNN, his family lost all their money, and we keep joking, we're going to have Christmas at the Biltmore estate one year. So, because it's beautiful commercials, but this is, exactly, the Rockefellers keep this very secret. I don't mean to throw Grant Cardone under a bus. I was researching things. One of the books I read, please don't go down this rabbit hole, but The Creature from Jekyll Island. I don't know if you've ever heard of that book.
No.
Being in Georgia, Jekyll Island.
I'm familiar with Jekyll. Yeah.
Okay. It's how the Federal Reserve was set up.
Oh,
it's
interesting.
Federal Reserve is a very quasi-secretive situation. And, I found a video where Grant Cardone does mention that he doesn't tell people about the trust, that, let's say you're looking at a property in Atlanta and you're only going to make 4% on it. And you're like, that's really skinny for me. It's not enough rate of return on the investment. He knows if he goes in and, against you, he knows he's going to make over 27% rate of return on the investment. So he can do more real estate than you can if you don't know this. I'm like, that's not fair.
Yeah.
One of my favorite books, since we talk about books, it's an old book by Wallace D. Wattles, The Science of Getting Rich. His entire philosophy is there's plenty out there. You do what you do, I do what I do, but everyone should help everyone. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to get on your podcast, Angela, just to tell people, here's a way to save some money. One of my friends from, he's living up in Ohio. Both his parents died during COVID, unfortunately. Wow. He inherited their stock portfolio, and he's just like, wow, I didn't know my dad had so many shares. And he got hit with a huge tax bill for 2021 because he wasn't aware that, when he takes the dividends from the stock portfolio, he had to pay this. And he's just like, I need this trust. And, it's weird things like that people don't find out until it's too late. And then, once you do pay for the trust, you never have to worry about that again. When you do sign up for the trust, we have a team to help you set everything up. And then we have CPAs. You can work with them, or they will teach your CPA on how to do things. And, again, I just want to get word out there because tax season is coming. And friends of mine from college, I knew Roger in college. They had a house they bought the house in Tampa Bay back in, let's say, 2001.
Yeah.
They sold the house. He got transferred up to Ohio. When you sell a house, usually you don't have to worry about things because when you're a couple, you can defer $500,000 in capital gains. Right. They bought a house for $130,000 and sold it for $1.2 million.
Wow.
Beautiful. It's right on the water. It's beautiful. And he's just like, we can't do, there's a 1031 exchange, but he had to, find another house in Columbus. He's like, I don't need a mansion with 20 rooms. I just, it's they don't have any kids. They have 2 dogs, and they're like, we need, an office space and things like this. So that's one of the reasons they got the trust, because there was too much money. I don't know if the real estate market's still that hot, but they sold it at a great time. So yes.
Wow, that's fascinating. Well, tell me, you talk about this circle of wealth, this 5 steps to do for the circle of wealth. So tell me what that is.
This is something I just started to work with. I've got my North Carolina nonprofit. I'm waiting to get my federal nonprofit. We were talking about when everything shut down for COVID.
Right.
When I first got involved with real estate, I was in what's called a note. So I'm the mortgage on the house. And April 1st, 2020, all of a sudden, where I was going to get $2,500 from 3 different homes that I had the note on the house,
right,
everything dried up. I'm like, yikes. So a friend of mine, because I don't want to throw her into the bus, but Veronica said, I'm involved with, I don't know if you remember the fires of 2016 and Christmas fires of 2016 in Tennessee. Dolly Parton was giving
right,
$1,500 to people.
Right.
There's an IRS code to help people. I gift you $15,000. You don't have to report it. I don't have to report it.
Right.
So what we got involved with was $100 board, and many people weren't interested in it. Veronica came to me back in July and said, I've got a $10 board, and I'm not saying you have to do this, but when you do go out to learn with Sally Marie, there's a circle of wealth, and it's $10. You gift somebody else, because I've got my 3 recruits, and then you only have to do 1 gift of $10, 3 recruits, and it walks you through the first board. When you get done with the 4 levels, you're at $7,500 tax-free in your pocket or in your bank account. And then on the second board, when you go through, because it puts a 0 at the end, you'll have over $72,000. It is life-changing. One of the statistics I use, 2 statistics I use, 80% of Americans have more than $90,000 in debt and aren't saving 10% for retirement. And what I'm passionate about, 42% of working women in the United States have no access to a 401k. Their job doesn't offer it, or they can't do anything. So everyone says, "Oh, put money away in your 401k," but if you don't have access, you can't even do it. So
right,
with the circle of wealth, it's what I've used. I literally, when my mom got sick, I started investing in real estate. I graduated with I went to undergraduate school. I went to the Peace Corps. I traveled for 9 months. When I came back, my student loans were higher than when I actually graduated.
Wow.
I went to graduate school. I had a house. I had a car. I had over $184,000 in credit card debt, student loan debt, everything else. And with how I use this, the circle of wealth, 3 businesses I'm part of that you can either be a consumer or you can do affiliate marketing. The real estate group I'm in, if you want to go down the real estate track, the 5th step is the trust, where I'm saving all this money and now I'm debt free. Instead of, I don't want to say this for being crowing or anything, but I've set up my retirement for myself that even if Social Security goes away, I don't have to worry.
Yeah.
It's a little bit scary how much the U.S. government owes China and other countries right now.
Mm-hmm. I know. Yeah, that is definitely a little scary. Yeah, and we're constantly on the brink of default as well. So
yes, very much so.
So, okay, well, that's all really, really fascinating. So tell me, kind of to pivot a little bit, tell me who inspires you?
My mom,
Yeah.
she, true story, my grandfather died of pleurisy, December 1939. People thought it was TB, because TB was still big in Ireland.
Wow.
His 2 sisters in December 1939 kicked my grandmother, my mom, and her sisters out of the business and said, "You no longer have this."
Wow.
She grew up extremely poor. I'm not trying to make fun of her, but she was food insecure, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So she went to London at age 16, never saw electricity until she got to London. She was working her way around the world and ended up in Bethel, Alaska, trying to get to Australia. She wanted to work with the outback doctors. She met my dad and sent a letter home to Ireland. My my auntie Ethna had to take 2 buses to St. Mary's College in Belfast because they didn't
Yeah.
know where Bethel, Alaska was. Nobody knows where that is.
Right.
And the next letter that came home said, "I'm getting married," and they're like, "Who is this?" And they were married for 57 years, but
Wow.
I don't know if you know the PBS show, The Call of the Midwife.
Oh, right.
That was my mom 10 years later, like when they had the 1996 Olympics in East End, London. She's like, "Oh, this is where," she was a midwife who delivered babies after a woman had a if the pregnancy went well at the hospital, the babies were delivered at home. And so she was all excited, like, "I'm going to show you East End, London." And they had torn everything down. And she's like, "Oh, it's all different." I'm like, "Mom, it's been 40 years, give it
Yeah.
up." So, but she was an amazing person. And she was very, she believed in you, but she would be like, "Tell me the truth. I'll support you, but give me the bad part of it too." And I mean, it
Right.
sounds funny. I still talk to her all the time, but she was a wonderful human being.
Oh, that's wonderful. I love that. Yeah, so my mom is a strong woman as well, and same thing, really kind of built herself up. And so I love that. I love women who overcome, circumstances in their life to be incredible women despite the odds against them. So, well, that's
One
wonderful.
of the things, it's interesting. My younger brother does it too. When my mom, God, you're what, 2, and they're teaching you bathroom etiquette. When you
Yeah.
get up in the morning, and she said, "Every time you wash your hands in the morning, just say in the mirror, 'I love you, Sally.'" And I
Oh.
didn't think that was that big, but when I tell people, like, "That's amazing," I'm like, "Did she learn it from Tony Robbins? Did she learn it from," because you hear all these big wigs talk about it, and I'm like, "Where did she learn that?" And
Yeah.
he's not little, he's 6'4". My younger brother says he does it all the time, and my older brother's like, "I don't remember that." And the three of us are like, "Mom taught us,"
Yeah.
and
She
she
knew affirmations before affirmations were a big thing, huh?
exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know where she learned it, but I
Hmm.
can remember living in Phoenix, and because there was a stool to stand up to reach a sink, and we had to say it out loud. And my sister-in-law goes, "I'm going to start doing that." I'm like, "Why not?" So,
No, it's so important. I do affirmations every single day. Every single day when I'm getting ready and I'm brushing my teeth, I do my affirmations every day.
exactly.
Makes a big difference. It's a better start to your day, to be honest.
It puts you in a better mood, a higher vibration, and it just makes things
Hmm.
work better for you.
Absolutely does. So, what challenges have you overcome in your journey? Because I know you've had to have so many challenges. We talked about all this incredible, wonderful success, but we don't get to success without some obstacles and some hurdles.
I don't like to talk about it, but I just had my 1 year anniversary. Um, in my real estate group, I was doing a mastermind for 18 weeks.
Mm.
I had a 50-50 agreement with my mentor in my real estate group. He's my 5-star, and he was my business partner. January 12th, 2021, I got paid not enough, and I just sent a simple text going, "What happened to our 50-50 agreement?" Just a
Hmm.
text. January 13th, we get on the Zoom, and I have never been spoken to like that before.
Oh
I
no.
mean, he came out guns blazing, and I'm like, "Zach, I'm getting off the Zoom before something is said, and we can't go back."
Hmm.
So a week later, get on the Zoom with him, and I just, we're talking. He goes, "Well, I don't think I can trust you." I'm like,
Oh
I didn't do this wrong. And he goes, "We have to put this on hold for a few weeks." And I said, "I'm not a human yo-yo. This is your decision. I either continue with 18 months of doing a mastermind, or we stop." And he goes, "You'll be nobody without me." And I'm like,
oh,
"Okay."
I love a good
And
challenge.
I don't have I don't have a pin cushion putting pins into him. I don't wish him ill will. But since January 2022 was horrible. I
Mm,
had a mentor. I am going to be honest. I think everyone should have a coach or a mentor to talk to.
agree.
And my mentor Susan's like, "You need to do something." And I moved from Arizona to North Carolina. I gave up the real estate group. I joined another real estate group. I still have friends in Arizona, but it was a really hard month. I mean, I love sleep, and if someone's waking me up at 2 o'clock in the morning because my mind's going, I'm like, so and everyone's like, "Why'd he do that?" And it was really interesting. I don't know if he was challenged by being by a woman, but I had 7 different people reach out to me in January, February, and March just saying, hey, this happened to me. I'm like, you go your way, I'll go my way. And I've done 8 real estate deals since February of 2022, which is more than
Wow.
in 1 year, more than
That's
I've ever done
incredible.
before.
Mm-hmm.
I'm I'm talking on podcasts. I've just got a I'm working with one of the largest business brokers. This is something I want to talk about. Capital gains when you sell your business. I don't care if it's a pizzeria, if it's a car wash. Do you know Schwann's Home Delivery? Those yellow trucks with frozen food.
Oh, right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Um, when you sell your business, you're either going to pay 15% or 20% in capital gains. That's a lot of money. I
That's a
mean,
lot of money. Mm-hmm.
I was sitting in my brother's brewery. We were playing on Tuesday nights. It's what is it called? Music bingo.
Okay.
The guy who was sitting next to me, he's like, "Oh, I'm buying one of my dad's Schwann's routes," and we were able to save him $72,000 for his retirement. He's 79. He's 79 years old, and his wife calls me, and she's like, "That's 2 years of income that you just saved us." And I'm like, "That's a
Wow.
lot of money." So
Yeah.
so that's one of the things I want to bring up, and you know I did. There's a book out there, Darren Hardy, I think it is, "Living Your Best Year Ever," and I did it, and I'm like, wow, I really did a lot in 2002, and I'm setting up
Yeah.
2023 really well. And your podcast, Angela, is one of the reasons I wanted to get on this, because I want to help people who want to make their dreams come true, help them too.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for that. I appreciate it. Yeah, this podcast has meant a lot to me because I just wanted to bring the conversation closer about, it's okay to be successful and chase your dreams and do all the things that you want to do. And, women, we're sometimes put into a little box and told, this is as far as you can go, this is as much as you can do. And, that's absolutely just not true. And so there's
Just
opportunity.
I worked with another woman in my real estate group.
Mm.
True story. She took her dog a different direction in Nebraska, and she saw a sign on the door saying the county or the city, the grass wasn't being cut. So she did research. She calls me. I want to say it was Sunday, August 30th. And she goes, I need this amount of money by September 1st to stop the auction. I was able to do the thing. Should we stop the auction? We wholesaled the house. I made 14% return on my investment. It was her first real estate deal. We were on a Zoom talking about the real estate deal, and someone puts in the chat, "Oh, you little ladies did a really good job." I'm like, I'm 5'9" and she's 5'8". I'm not really 50,
Yeah.
and I don't want to say it's discrimination, but women are just as powerful as men. And Kendra took her dog a different direction one day and just noticed something. I mean, good for Kendra. She knew who to contact and she wholesaled the house. She did all the work. I was just the money on the deal, and we both made money on it. And it was an easy thing to do.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I think women, given the proper resources and information, can do incredible things, because I don't think anyone on the planet has more tenacity than a woman. So,
I agree.
Give us a challenge and we will happily rise to meet it. But yeah, we just have to be given the right resources and information, which is where the podcast came from. It's all about bringing the information and the resources to women on a regular basis. And
Yes.
So, and there's so many incredible women that we can feature, like yourself, that are out there doing incredible things and can serve as a great role model. And, you have information that people, it can help to inspire, it can help to motivate, it can help to, give them the information and resources that they may not find in their day-to-day lives. So
exactly. And that's the whole thing. Get the right information. I mean, you're doing a podcast, and maybe someone's going to be driving somewhere, or maybe someone's going to be doing dishes, and something just clicks it for them.
Yep.
I hate to use statistics like this, but if someone made an extra $250 a month, they could stop bankruptcy. That's such a small thing. I mean, go work part-time someplace and get a part-time job just to get out of a rut. And I don't know about for you, Angela, but I have a lot of friends who lost hope during COVID. And I want, if I can just light a candle or light a little bit of hope in someone to help them get out of where they are. I was just on a meeting yesterday, and the statistic they used for how much suicide has gone up in the last 2 years, that's so sad. I mean, it's pathetic.
Yeah, well, and I was talking to a woman last night at an event, and she's a counselor, and yeah, she was saying that they had 20 people on a wait list to talk to a counselor about suicide.
Wow.
It's scary, but yes, if we can save people, and one of the biggest factors is financial ruin.
Yes.
That's where this a lot of this, they feel like their life is over. They can't support their families. They've failed financially, and I can tell you, as an entrepreneur, I don't know a single entrepreneur has not failed at something, and
Oh,
so, we crash and burn all the time. You get it all, you lose it all. And not that that's a cycle you want to continue, but the best thing you can do is learn from it and then do better next time.
exactly. And, I wouldn't call it failure. You're learning from things that happen so you can
Sure.
be more improved. And, I can tell you, I've been involved in 22 different real estate deals, and three of them went negative.
Yeah.
And, I'll be honest, I'll show people numbers, because the three that went negative, I know exactly what I did wrong. And
Right.
I've learned from
Hmm.
those mistakes. And,
Yeah.
19 of them, I've made some great money. So I'm doing okay.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and that's important, like not every one of my businesses, I've owned several businesses. Not all of them have been home run, but I'll tell you what, the ones that were not, there's so much lesson that was learned from them that it enabled the future businesses to be successful. And without those failures, I probably wouldn't be where I am today. So I think there's just so much that you can learn from failure and from having those obstacles in your way. But again, just like the gentleman that you were talking about, you learn and you do better. And I find that to be a challenge, fuel to my fire. So when somebody tells me I can't do something, it's like, watch me. I'm gonna do it.
When when we were having the Zoom, it was a snow day, and
Mm,
I moved to North Carolina. I'm living with my brother and sister-in-law. Just let you know,
hmm.
beautiful house, but and my nephew was listening to it. He goes, "Does Zach know what he just did?" I'm like, What are you saying, Aiden?" He's like, "He's got to watch out. You're gonna," and I'm like, "Thank you for having trust in me." So,
Yeah.
if my nephew has trust in me, my I think that's important. My family loves me. I love them.
Mm.
You need to have people in your corner. And Aiden's just like,
Yes.
"Oh, he started a bad thing."
Good. That's awesome. So, that kind of leads me down into my next question. So, as women, we often give our power away, whether we're giving credit to someone else or we're allowing someone to take something from us, whether it be confidence or, they criticize us and we take it and we don't defend ourselves. So, tell me about a time that you gave your power away, because it sounds like in that situation you did a great job of stepping into your power. You said, "Hey, you know what? This is where I'm not comfortable, and I'm not going to tolerate it." And that's amazing. That's what we should be doing, right? But tell me about a time that you gave your power away.
um, I don't know if you know that I have amblyopia, which is kind of called a lazy eye. I'm legally blind in my left eye. When
Mm.
I was a kid, I had to wear a patch in my right eye up until I was 6. This is true story. That we were in Pittsburgh, we're standing in line, and a kid was making fun of me because I was wearing a patch. And my older brother, he's 2 years older than I am, and God help me, I was taller than him at 6. He turns around and goes, "She's playing pirate, and you don't have any sense of adventure." And I'm like, "Thank you." I mean,
Yeah.
because this kid's making fun of you, and I'm like wilting. I can literally feel myself wilting standing in line. I
Yeah.
forget who the character was, and my older brother just came to my defense. And when we got done what we were doing, and we get back to the car, I told my mom this. And my mom's like, "Of course your brother's going to take care of you." And
Good.
it just I was the tallest kid in my class all the way up until
Mm.
7th grade. I'm 5'9", which is not that tall, but when you're 5'7" in 6th grade, you're tall.
Yeah.
And but I got called Ronald McDonald because I have huge feet, and I'm just
Mm.
like, I won't fall over in a windstorm. So there,
That's right.
everyone has something. I mean, bullying and things like this, but you've got to have a thick skin and
Yeah.
just say, "I don't care."
Yeah.
Let go forward.
Hmm. Oh yeah.
Don't regret anything.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I agree. And getting picked on is no fun, but it does build some, it builds a different type of confidence in you. It builds the type of confidence that says these words are not going to tear me down, right? And
Exactly.
yeah, so I totally agree. And being a woman in a male dominated field, I get comments all the time, and most of the time I just brush it off. I'm like, okay, that's cute that you think that, but tomorrow I'm going to come and eat your lunch and you're going to have anything to do about it. It's tough, because they degrade you thinking they're hurting you, but really it's just adding fuel to a fire. And it just, it's once you learn to turn that criticism and the negativity into fire for what you really want to do, then the success and the victory is all that much more sweet.
Exactly. And one of the things, again, going through having a coach and everything, I forget how many thoughts we have in a day, but let's say 6,500. And one of the things I really work on, every time I have a negative thought, I have to put 2 positive thoughts to it. Just again, bring up your how your energy's running, because when your energy's down, you're down, unfortunately.
Absolutely. 100%. I agree with that. In fact, when I start having crazy dreams, or when I have, negative thoughts, or I have a really bad conversation, I'll immediately start doing affirmations in my head, kind of turn that whole situation around, because I don't want to, because if you let the negativity get to you, it can just, it can kind of pile on over and over and over and over. And then it can just change your energy.
To pile it on. Yes.
Mm-hmm. So what advice would you give to your 18-year-old self?
At 18, I had a major decision to make. I was in a very small school up in New Hampshire, and there was a whole thing. The high school had 6 suicides in under 6 months.
Wow.
And you were talking about negative depression and everything. I was just like, I needed to make a change. And I'm like, that's where I got the power, I think, where I had to make the decision. I was in the college, but the town was rolling with this. And I'll be honest, it was back in 1985 and things weren't good. And, I made a major change. I went back to University of Maryland. But the thing about what I would tell my 18-year-old self, trust yourself. I mean, I made the right decision. I made another decision when I was graduating from Maryland. I had a group of friends and I had a job offer in St. Louis, and they're all like, "Oh, don't go to St. Louis. You're going to," I'm like, I let that, it was something I regretted. And then when I got offered to, I had the weirdest phone call about the Peace Corps. They're like, who's on first? That whole thing about where I'm going. So I found out April of 1991. I was leaving June of 1991 to go to Poland. And I'm like, where do you find
that's really cool
material? So, and I mean, I never looked back. From that, I've traveled the world. I got stuck in I was in Hong Kong, and I took into Macau. Didn't have a room. I slept in I've done some amazing things because I've never looked back and regretted anything. So just do it.
Good for you. And I have to say, I am also Maryland alumni, so go Terps.
Oh, really? Did you live on campus, or did you?
I did not. I lived off campus. I transferred in from Pitt. I've transferred in from Pitt because I wanted to. Maryland at the time had one of the best criminal psychology programs, and that's what I was studying. And so I transferred in, but I was determined to be on the dean's list. So I lived off campus in Bowie, Maryland for the 2 years that I went to Maryland, and I graduated on the dean's list. So, and then nobody ever asked me for my grades, so it doesn't matter.
I was a resident assistant, the 3 of us, we're all 2 years apart, but my younger brother's 3 years behind us in school. So I was a resident assistant at Elkton Hall. It was a female dorm, and some of the stuff you run into, the 17 and 18-year-olds who come to the school, because for me, it was great that I went to a very small school my freshman year, because it taught me what I needed to do. But true story, we went back to school, a week early to train us, and they were talking about racial conflict. I'm like, there's no such thing. My floor just blew up, and the biggest racial thing I ever did. No. And my best friend who married my college roommate who married my best friend from high school, she's Asian American. And someone came into the room and said, "I'll never be friends with anyone who's not white." And Nancy comes off the stairwell, and goes, "Hey, you ready for lunch?" I'm like, "Go, I have to deal with this." And I'm like, who are you? Who taught you this? It was eye-opening because I had never been part of it. And going back to my mom, she was always, everyone's created equal. You don't
Oh,
know what they think about. And I mean, you see it now more blatant, I think, but
Mhm.
you're 20 years old and you're like, I've never run into this before. And it was shocking,
Yeah.
unfortunately. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I'm fortunate in that, when I grew up, I grew up in a town where it was a very, pretty much every ethnicity was represented. I was downtown in a city. And so, I didn't grow up with the biases that a lot of people have if they have that more sheltered, I guess, youth. And so, yeah, I fortunate. But when I went to college, I went from big school to big school. I went from Pitt to Maryland. So
Well, are you from Pennsylvania?
yeah. Hmm.
Because my dad is a graduate of Pitt undergrad and graduate
Oh,
school.
nice.
And I know we're on a podcast, so I don't want to tell too many stories, but going back to when I was 5 years old, I had a lemonade stand. And
Oh,
if you know where Three River Stadium was,
yeah,
it
yeah.
was a big park, and we lived in the
Hmm.
townhouses there. And they wouldn't let me sell the lemonade in the townhouses because then Girl Scout cookies and everything. And I don't know how Mr. Rooney, the owner of the Steelers, found out about it. My next door neighbor was a Steeler. Oh my God, he was huge. He's 6'8". He was huge. But someone came, Mr. Rooney came to the door, knocked on the door, and he said, "I heard your daughter can't sell lemonade. Would she sell lemonade to my players?" So my
What?
grandfather, who lived in Pittsburgh, he drives over the card table. Everything else that it was I guess it was spring practice because Hurricane Agnes came up the river and it ruined my lemonade stand.
Oh,
I made
geez.
$168 in one
What?
day selling to the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I made this
Wow.
huge man. I mean, I'm 5 years old with pigtails and a patch, and and my older brother's there, and he's like, "That's Terry Bradshaw." I'm like, "Stop pointing it."
Yeah.
It was, but my mom had this little book that it was $10 for the lemonade stand. It was so much for the 5 pounds of sugar. I had to pay this off. I bribed my brother to help me, $5 to help me. I made enough money. And I think that's where this whole becoming my own business
Yeah.
person, everything else.
Hmm.
And when lemonade stand was destroyed, it was out in the shed in the backyard and everything got flooded. My mom's like, "You made enough money." I'm like, "No, I haven't."
This is just the start. That's
Exactly.
awesome. Good for you. All right. So this has been super fun, but last
Oh, thank you.
question. What do you wish more people knew?
I wish people had faith in themselves. If you
Yeah.
believe in yourself, you could go so much further. And too many people let other people bring them down, and just believe in
Yeah.
yourself.
I agree. I agree. Don't let anyone else tell you what you're capable of. Only you know that. So
Exactly.
awesome. Well, thank you so much, Sally Gimon, for
Oh,
joining
thank
us
you.
today. It has been such a pleasure, and I have learned a ton, and I know that other people will be benefiting from this as well. So thank you for your time.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Angela. Have a great 2023.
Absolutely. So thank you guys for joining us. If you want to learn more about Sally, you can go to our website at prettypowerfulpodcast.com and you will find all of her information there. Thank you so much for joining us today. Have an amazing day.
Thank you for joining our guests on the Pretty Powerful Podcast. And we hope you've gained new insight and learned from exceptional women. Remember to subscribe or check out this and all episodes on prettypowerfulpodcast.com. Visit us next time, and until then, step into your own power.